struggling to fill a muscle group, I'm gonna show you how doing one side at a time is gonna help you improve your connectivity. All right, guys and girls, here we are at Elite, and what I thought I would talk to you all about today is when doing exercise, I know a lot of times people really struggle filling the target muscle group. And the first instinct for most, or even most coaches, is to say, hey, let's lower the weight and that's gonna be the answer or the solution to your problem. And in my opinion, is that right? Yes, that's definitely where we're gonna start. But another thing that I would highly, highly encourage you thinking about or considering is just make it a single arm or single leg exercise. So for example, if I'm doing dumbbell curls, if I'm trying to do both arms at the same time, it's gonna set me up or put me in a different spot than if I did on one arm at a time. So let me get over here, grab a set of dumbbells, and show you exactly what I'm talking about. What I want you to pay attention to, these are lightweight. When I curl this up, look at my elbows in relation to my shoulder and my body. In order to do that, to feel the best, this is what I'd have to do, okay? So here, does that feel good for my biceps? Yeah, feels pretty good. Now, watch this. One arm at a time, I'm gonna lean into it. Now look at that alignment. Look at the elbow to shoulder. Look at the difference. I'm leaning into that, and the alignment or setup for that side is way better. Let me show you the other side. Literally leaning into it, here. That contraction went from like an 8.5 to a 10, just by simply isolating and switching to one side at a time. Now, let me show you with two at a time. Let's say, hey Chris, I don't want to drop it to the ground. I'm good with that. Just hold it, and we're here. Boom. Well, let's say I'm doing hammer curls. There, I'm just leaning into that side, and then I'm gonna switch, simply lean into it, curl. You don't have to sit it down. So that alignment is gonna drastically improve, and my ability to only think about one contracting muscle versus two, meaning my right and my left side. So biceps, check. Let me show you with back. And we're on the DY row here. So what I'm gonna get a chance to do is pan directly behind me, and what I want you to watch, my elbows track. And with this, if I'm targeting my lower lats, doing this one arm at a time is far superior for me and my structure, as well as my shoulder mobility. So I'm gonna get them to pan around to the back. I'm gonna show you double arm first, and then I want you to compare it when I simply shift my hips over, glue my elbow to my side, and I'm trying to literally row, keep my elbow as tight as possible. All right guys, watch this. When I come back, that is me trying to keep my elbows as close to my body as possible. You see how they still flare out? They're still flaring out more than I would like on every one of these reps. Now, watch when I drop to one arm, I'm gonna shift my hip, and I'm gonna go here. Now, look how much tighter that elbow is able to track and hit that lower lat. So as opposed to taking off the lower lat, so with the double arm, I'm getting some lower lat, but I'm also getting some upper back with this, as opposed to the single arm where I'm able to shift my hips over, align everything perfectly, and drill that lower lat because I'm able to tuck my elbow close to my rib cage. So I know a lot of that has to do with my shoulder mobility, but what you have to take into consideration is we are bodybuilding. The judge is never gonna ask me on stage, Chris, like your shoulder mobility is why you can't row right. No, all he cares about is my back big or it's not. So we have to take these considerations when we go into the gym and we're setting up exercises for our body. Now let's go over to the leg curl and I'll show you for a lower body exercise. All right, lying leg curls. And I know it's an exercise that seems pretty self-explanatory, but I've had countless people say, Chris, like, I feel this in my lower back, I feel this in my glutes, I feel it in my calves. And if you feel it in your lower back, watch this video because I addressed that and how we can fix it. But a lot of times hamstrings stem from just your lat to connect to them. And a lot of times you'll see this in people's posing too, right? So when they flip around and do a back double, back lat spread, they can't contract their hamstrings, and that's because they don't have control over them. So what I always like, as opposed to lowering the weight on this machine, let's go one leg at a time and really focus on each individual hamstring. So let me show you those reps and why I like them so much. So what you'll notice there is when I go each single leg, I'm able to really focus on driving my hips into the pad. And that is gonna keep your lower back out of it. It's gonna keep all the tension glued to the hamstring, and that's gonna instinctually make me lower the weight, because what you wanna think about here is a lot of times you guys can do so much load or move so much so that the weight is actually shooting your hips up because you aren't driving your pelvis into the machine. So with this single leg, I can isolate and almost treat it almost like a preacher curl for your bicep. So again, to wrap this whole video up, if you're struggling to connect or fill a muscle group, instead of just lowering the weight right out the gate, switch to single arm, single leg, and really isolate and focus on that muscle one side at a time. I know for me and my back that it's worked wonders for me. So the more times I can do single arm pull downs, single arm rows, the better of a connection I can have to those lats, because I don't have to think about my whole back working in unison. I just cut it in half. And now I'm only working 50% of my body part, So again, huge tip that I wish I knew when I was younger, because what got banged into my head specifically for back was this, is barbell rows, T-bar rows, pull-ups, wide grip lat pull-downs, deadlifts. Those are 5 mainstays. Seated cable rows. The only single arm exercise we ever did for back when I was younger was gonna be a dumbbell row. So I wished I would have done way more single arm work, because that would have forced my back to do a majority of the work, as opposed to having to think about the whole thing working in unison. So again, apply this principle, get your weaknesses or the body parts you can't feel growing, and I promise that is gonna help you be a bigger, better athlete, bodybuilder, competitor, or just human living in life. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Credibility TV.